Hi, everybody. Welcome to Coming Out with Liz and Eddie. I'm Eddie Connor.
And I'm Liz Lyuk.
This is our very first podcast. It's all about intuition. And what Liz and I have done is created a safe space, a vulnerable space where we can come out as intuitives, mediums, and tune into the spiritual psychic world with you and for you.
We're going to start with ourselves and our journey and how it got us here at this moment. And so we're very excited to share with you our personal journey.
So come on board. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Liz.
And this is about coming out spiritually and intuitively. We hope you enjoy it.
Amen.
Bye.
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 You can cut that out.
Okay, Liz, this entire show is about intuition. So I'm dying to know, what kind of off-the-wall psychic experiences did you have when you were growing up?
Oh, that's not fair. Okay, I have to think about it for a minute. Is there a time on this? Timing? Oh, okay. So I'm thinking that the earliest thing I can remember is, God, I wonder if is that a psychic experience? I remember waking up in my parents' bedroom, and I was 5 years old, and I remember the first thought that came to my mind was, what am I doing in this body?
Oh.
So I thought to myself, that's kind of interesting, and I didn't really recognize the room. I just thought, oh, maybe I was sleeping, whatever. But that, to me, for somebody who's 5 years old, was a little unusual, looking back on it now.
In your family, how many brothers and sisters?
I have 2 sisters and 1 brother.
And were you the weird kid?
What are you saying? Yeah, I think I was a little different than the rest of them. I kind of marched to the drum, with a beat of my own drum, and whenever I wanted to. But yeah.
I definitely think it's intuitive because I had some of the same experiences. It's like there has to be more to life than this. And how come I can see a dead person, or I would have angels, I would watch angels walk through the wall. That's when we lived in the projects. And so I was like,
So you're from the South?
Oh, yes, North Kakalaki.
North Kakalaki? Mm-hmm. Okay, but how old were you when this first happened to you?
My very first.
What's your first recollection?
I was 3.5, 4 years old, and my birth dad, came in, and he and Mom and I were cooking in the kitchen. Signed right at the very beginning, I was destined for homosexual things, right?
Yeah.
So Mom and I were working in the kitchen. Bobby was asleep on the sofa. Mom's pregnant with Terry.
Yeah.
I said it was this out.
Okay, I said it.
And Dad just come bursting through the door. He was a rageaholic, and he beat Mom up. And as he came in, I went to grab Mom's apron, and this little girl pulled me under the kitchen table. And the kitchen table was pushed up in a corner because the kitchen was just tiny. And she and I were holding on to each other under the kitchen table. So I'm only seeing things from like right here. So I could see my dad from the waist down kicking my mom.
Oh, Lord.
And she's balled up in a little ball to protect the baby. And that goes on felt like an eternity. And when it was over, he stormed out of the house. He took her money because her tips from the restaurant, stormed out of the house and slammed the door. And I looked to the little girl like it's okay now, and she was gone.
Oh, because you don't have a sister.
I don't have a sister.
That's right.
And then I was crawling out from under the table, and I was like, I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, she's dead, because she wasn't moving. And I was like, help me to whoever. And then I saw light come through the walls. Like, have you ever been swimming in a lake?
Oh, yeah.
And then you see the sun come through, and you feel like a little merwoman, little mermaid.
What do you mean? I am a merwoman.
There you go. Merwoman ta-ta. And that's how the light was coming through. And the light had consciousness. It was a feeling. It was communicating. It was a telepathic language. And it just instantly lifted the feeling, the emotion, the thoughts up. And I instantaneously knew Mom was going to be okay, and so was the baby. And then these angels started coming out of the light into the room and just holding space. They didn't say anything. They look like the holographic images at the end of the movie Ghost.
Well, I was going to say, it's like, okay, so you're 2.5, 3 years old.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
About 3.5.
Okay, but your consciousness at that time, now reflecting on it, you know all of these things now. But at the time, so...
I thought I was cray-cray.
Did you think you were crazy?
Yeah, because I also assumed everybody else had the same kind of experiences.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't.
I agree with that, because when I was growing up, the same thing. I just assumed everybody was like me.
And they ain't.
And no, they're not.
What were some other experiences you had? I know you
No,
were...
wait, let me finish this.
Yeah.
I just want to finish the thread.
Okay.
I want to find out, like, okay, so you saw, what did these angels look like to you?
They were very holographic. They weren't like the angels you see in the paintings.
So you visually saw them. It wasn't just in your mind.
No. I totally saw them. And I could hear the vibration of the light, and I could feel the vibration of them, and I could hear them in my mind. But it wasn't words.
And you weren't afraid.
I don't remember. I think it was Bradley Cooper who said this on Inside the Actors Studio, and he broke down when he was saying it. He said, it wasn't until I was in this acting class with this one particular teacher. It was the first time in my entire life that I learned to relax. And it took him a long time to get it out because he was having a breakthrough moment right there in front of everybody.
Sure.
And I grew up, you could not relax. You couldn't sink. You couldn't sleep deep.
Well,
you couldn't do anything because
Yeah.
stuff like this happened all the time.
Yeah.
So when they came through, the feeling was you're safe. Everything's cool. You're going to be fine. Your mom's fine. The baby's fine. Of course, Bobby slept through it.
Well, see, this is instantaneous. Everything is simultaneous and everything happens all at once. You have all this knowingness, this understanding, and this intuition.
And so going back to, going back to when you were 5 years old and you were in your parents' room and you had this awareness,
Yes.
which was, why am I in
doing-
this body? What am I doing in this life?
Body? Yeah, what am I doing in this body?
What did you dismiss it, or did that question kind of haunt you throughout your childhood?
Well, no, I think that it made an impact on me. Like, I was wary. I was just kind of looking around and going like, what am I doing in this body? And then I kind of like, it was almost like it was an episode. You know, it's like I'm thinking to myself, like, what am I doing here? And I remember getting up and not recognizing everything and then going on with my life. So it didn't haunt me, but it was a memory that made a great impact on me. It made me feel like I'm a little different because my brothers and sisters don't have those issues.
Right.
They don't. I mean, I was afraid to say anything until I was a little older.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So when did you learn to harness your clairvoyance, your clairaudience? Because you see intuitively, you hear intuitively. You've also been a conscious channel before.
Yes.
And you have definitely vivid, crazy dreams. I remember that when we were tromping through Peru.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, there was a puma with diamond eyes that came into my room last night and said, hey, girl, what's up?
Yeah, that was a little, yeah. I think that, when we were in Peru, that was rather interesting. I didn't expect anything, actually, to be quite frank with you. And I remember Abelardo said to be aware of your dreams before we hit the mountain the night before. And because we were up against what is that area that we were up against?
Ollantaytambo.
Yes.
In the Sacred Valley.
Okay, that's where we were, Ollantaytambo. But we were right up against the waterfall, like the river was right there, and the hotel was right there.
Aguas Calientes at the base of Machu Picchu.
That's it.
Yeah.
The base of Machu Picchu. And he said, just be aware at dinner and so we did. And I remember the rushing of the water. It was amazing. But I remember just that golden puma just coming through, just walking through. And I'm just going like, oh my God, what is that?
What kind of experiences did you have psychically connected to Machu Picchu itself?
Machu Picchu itself?
Yeah. What feelings, what bleed throughs, if any?
Well, I think that it's interesting. As we were going up the mountain, I felt like the energy. I know it sounds kind of trite, but it's not. The energy was so different than any other place that I've been in the world. Not that I've been to a million places, but I have been to quite a few.
You're a globetrotter, though. You definitely like to travel.
Yeah, I do. But it's just like being up in that area. It was my first time. What time was yours? How many times have you been there?
5th or 6th.
Okay, 5th or 6th time. And I was trying to be aware of it and trying to be, at peace with myself. And I think that the most important thing is the energy of the place was so expansive, but it was very intense.
Oh,
it's like it's almost as if I was waiting for something to happen. Mm-hmm. It's like I had that feeling something's going to happen. And I was looking around at all the mountains because there's different, it's almost like Peru is like one big archaeological dig.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Anywhere you look, any little town, any place that you go, it's all the steps of the Mayans. It's Mayans, right?
It's the Inca, but it's every
Inca,
step is consciousness.
Yes.
Everything has an intention in it. Everything was deliberate. Every single step, so you can feel it. Plus, there's quartz crystals in every stone there. So what does quartz do? You taught me this. It amplifies whatever you're feeling in the moment.
Yeah.
And we talked about that on the bus. As soon as we got to Cusco and we were moving through the Sacred Valley and other places, it's like, listen, get your vibrational shit together. Because when we hit Aguas Calientes, moving up to Machu Picchu, whatever you are is going to come flying out of you.
That's true.
The top or the bottom.
Yeah.
Either way.
Yeah.
But you know what's coming to me when we were on the bus together?
Yeah.
And remember there was the ladies who came in, they were twins, and they sat right kind of in front of us where we were. Mm-hmm. And one of them was feeling a little funky with her digestive system, and I overheard it, and I was just sending them light. You can't send one twin light, not send the other twin light, right?
No, they feel it.
And so I was just doing that as we were on the road going up to Machu Picchu. And then I just put this together, you were sensing something was going to happen. And fast forward to hours and hours later, as our group was moving around right at the edge of Huayna Picchu's entrance on Machu Picchu.
Oh, yeah.
The rogue llama came flying through. There was about 100 of us there. And it knocked down one of the twins.
Yep.
And I was there. Abelardo was there. Our group was there. And our
God
group
you guys were there.
Well, we all were. And you're just like, boop, popping your hands up, sending energy, flowing energy. I mean, it's that kind of thing. It's just, but you sensed it, and then it manifested, and she was fine.
She's fine.
She was like an inch from that boulder when it knocked her backwards.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And then she jumped up and started salsa dancing.
Oh, it's interesting because, like when you go up there, you see people from all over the world. They're like, they're there not to party. They're there to for a spiritual journey.
Big time.
But they're coming from all over the world. That's what impressed me. It's like everywhere. Yeah. You met people from everywhere. Yeah.
How old were you when you stopped being kind of nervous about your intuition and then you started embracing it? So about what age or decade?
What, that you get nervous?
That where you stopped being nervous about it?
Oh, I don't think I've ever stopped, to be honest with you. I think that I get nervous a lot because as I was growing up and I wanted to investigate it. I mean, didn't you come to a point where, not to change the subject, but you come to a point as you were growing up and you have these different experiences, and then all of a sudden you become interested, you're curious.
Oh,
I was
God.
mainly curious, and I wanted to find out more. Why am I like this? Why was I feeling this? Why was I hearing this? Why was I having these vivid dreams? And
Is that when the ship came back and threatened to take you?
oh yeah, that's when the ship said they were going to come. I think that at a certain point I decided that after all my experiences and not getting any answers, I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
And this has been happening since I was quite young. And I finally decided, well, let me look into this.
So-
I had the opportunity, the timing was right. It just felt right. And just all these things started to happen. I want to say coincidences, but I don't believe in coincidence.
Yeah.
And so it's supposed to be that way. And then I started going into it. So did that really answer?
It totally answered. And it's so parallel and synchronistic with my experience.
How about you?
It was the same thing. I shut it down. I was super psychic, Gaby. And then I stopped. I shut it down. I think I was between 14 and 15 years old because I would see awful things. I grew up in a volatile environment.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was optimistic. Get it? Optimistic. I'm joking. And I was the sort of happy-go-lucky rainbows, unicorn, sunshine kid who ironed his corduroys and moved his bed over that yellow shag carpet.
Don't tell me you ironed your corduroys.
Please. We moved up to a double-wide trailer. We weren't playing. We were rich. And I just kept having these crazy experiences. And one morning we walked up to the bus stop, and it was me and Bobby and Terry. And Doodlebug was with my dad at the time. No, Doodlebug was with us at the time.
Yeah.
And my stepdad. And long story short, they just beat the crap out of us. And I went to, my brother Terry would say, "You gave as good as you got, dude." Because I always thought I was just sort of like don't fight, peace and love, F you. And this dude just punched me, just knocked the air out of me. And out of nowhere, it just came out of me. I didn't think it. I didn't even feel it. It was just like this. And I was like, "Your bus is going to turn over and send every one of you to the hospital." And I was like, okay. Then I picked my books up and brushed off my corduroy.
And then you walked away.
Yeah, my little Goodwill fringe vest like Elvis
So how old
Presley
were
would have
you?
worn. I was in the 6th grade.
Okay.
And I was the only kid. There were a couple of us junior high school kids, and everybody else was in the younger group. But long story short, that very morning on the bus, I'm just sort of sitting in the back quietly because I was an introvert to start with. And as our bus stopped talking, you know how kids scream and yell on a bus? They started screaming. They stopped screaming and yelling. Then they all looked at me. And then they were all moving to one side of the bus.
Yeah.
And I stood up to see what they were looking at. And that group of kids' their bus was hit by a tractor trailer as it was turning the curve to go to their school, and knocked it over on its side and hit the back emergency door so badly that it wouldn't open. But then it flipped on the side where you get out of the bus.
Yeah.
And busted glass was all over the road. People were screaming and crying. And they're pulling children out of the top of the bus. And they're looking at me like I'm some character from a Stephen King novel. And
he cursed the bus.
I know,
He cursed the
not the bus. Those punk
people,
ass kids. And as the bus inched by, I saw them sitting on the back of the ambulance, and then I saw my brother standing there too. And I had experiences like that all day and all night. So when I was about 14, 15, no later than 16, I said, I want this to go away. I was like, "Get rid of
I
it.
understand that. I
hate
understand
it."
that. Yeah.
And like you, in my 20s, it started coming back slowly. But then I learned if you have to educate yourself to communicate with it, and it's all unknown. And were you raised in a super conservative religious family like me where everything's the work of the devil?
Well, no. The only thing I could think of, I think that we just never communicated.
Oh, well, yeah.
We just it's just,
Well, because
it
you're
was
to
in
be
the,
seen and not heard.
it's in the 50s. I was born in the 50s. So,
Wow, that's so long ago. Said the person who's born in 61. I had to throw it out there.
I'm going to slap you.
You can't, you're too far away.
So I was born in the 50s. And so that at that time, you're right. It's like children should not be, should be seen and not heard. And unless they spoke to you, we did not speak.
That's right. And you ate your little meals in another part of the house.
Yes, we did. We had our separate children's table and then my parents, and then if we eat together, we also had to zip it.
Yeah.
You
or
zip
you get
it.
backhanded away from the table.
Exactly.
Knock
And
the Holy
during those
Spirit out of
times,
you.
it was a whole different everything.
So,
But let me finish. I think that, let me finish, Edward. So,
and for people at home, that's what you call a psychic bitch slap.
okay. So anyway, so I remember that one Saturday, because we're all doing our chores, and my brother, the boys did the outside chores and the girls did the inside chores.
You were lucky. We had to do both.
Oh, well, eventually we did too. But I mean, I remember they were washing the car and I was reading my book. That's the one thing that I think that saved me when I was young. I didn't talk a lot growing up. I just experienced things, but I didn't talk to anybody about it. But I read a lot. I mean, constantly reading, so much so that, I would get in trouble for reading too much. So I remember that I just finished a book on a saint and I felt like I had experiences. She was a young woman. She was 13 years old. And yes, we were very Catholic. My mother is Catholic.
Yeah. What was this? Which saint?
Oh, St. Agnes,
Okay.
I think. And I remember that I told my mother, went up to my mom, and I said, Mom, I know what I want to be when I grow up. And I was so young.
I want to be
so
a
little.
saint.
I want to be a saint. And then she looks at me, and she was horrified. It was like she was horrified. And she just looks at me, and she just tells me, she looks down at me, and she goes, don't say anything. Don't say anything. She goes, insanity runs in the family. And I'm going like, what? 5 years old, and you're thinking, what? But
even at 5 years old, you don't know what the word insanity means,
No, I have
but
no
you
idea.
know it's not good because
of
it's
the
your
way,
family.
Well, because the way your mother responds.
Oh, well, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
So from then on, I remember not saying a word about any of my experiences at all.
Wow.
Just did not until I became much, much older.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So we both had the same thing. We're in our 20s. A curiosity got the best of us, and we learned to study it so that I've always said I had to learn how to educate myself on it so I could direct it and it wouldn't run my life.
Okay.
Because as soon as you don't direct it, it will beat the crap out of you.
Well, you are a little bit ahead of me because I didn't even have that thought. Mine was just more curiosity. I had all these experiences because I lived abroad for a very long time and I came back to this country. And I remember I'm Filipino American. So when I lived in the Philippines, it's a lot of people believe in that.
Oh, yeah.
They believe in fairies and dwarves, and they believe in, aswang, which is kind of their version of the vampire. They have ghosts and all this stuff.
And a lot of superstition around cemeteries and graveyards.
Yeah. Well, there is. There's a story about that. I have to tell you.
But tell us a story, y'all.
But when I came back, I was really open, to a lot of things. And I've had some, also some UFO experiences when I was there in the Philippines with other people. So it wasn't just me. And it wasn't like my first thing to go, oh my God, that's a UFO. I never believed in UFOs until
you saw it.
I saw
you had an
it.
experience.
When I had the experience and I saw it and I felt it and I'm just going, oh my God. So when I got here back to the United States, it was my curiosity that said, God, all of these experiences must mean something.
Yeah.
Right? It must mean something.
It must be putting me on a path
Exactly.
I might not be consciously aware of, but because you believe in coincidences as a soul tribute, honey. So as you believe it as a soul attribute, you knew you were destined for something different or higher than what you were living.
so, it was the curiosity that drove, was almost the curiosity was my impetus that drove me to find out. So you're right, education.
Yep.
I looked and it was almost like everything was laid in front of me synchronistically. It was just everything was one step after the other after the other.
And your intuition was helping you see
Absolutely.
the synchronicities and see the steps so that you could stay on the path.
But also, I think that we forget is that you have to want it. You have to desire it in order to make it happen.
I love that you said that.
You need to desire.
Curiosity is a nice high wavelength.
Yeah.
But the desire to answer the curious questions is the thing that keeps taking you on the path and keeping you on the path. When I first moved here, I had this experience. I was called into Fox to do something. They were literally going to start a spiritual network.
Yeah.
And we saw how that worked out. And they made the decision to go into. I'm going to call him Bobby. Because he likes me, I can tell. Bobby. And I forgot what I said.
You can woo it if you want to. Push
Oh, yeah.
give Bobby a little nudge.
Yes, child.
You can move Bobby away.
Reminds me of my friend Ray. Ray. No way.
Okay.
Ray, because I'm gay.
Okay.
No, for real. So I left. I completely forgot. So I was over at Fox and I met with the VP and the president of development there about a spiritual show, a psychic show. And on the way home, I'm talking to my mom. And Mom is asking me how it's going, how it went. And I told her it was really good. She's like, you kept your clothes on, didn't you? And I was like, Mom, it's not that kind of show.
What?
And we were saying she's very colorful, my mother. And so I'm sitting at a red light, and on the license plate right in front of me said Tim, or I love Tim. And Tim was my best friend who passed away in 1993, who worked for Fox.
Wow.
And that was my first major entertainment industry audition for a TV show. And I knew he was on my shoulder watching over me. And I told my mom, and I'm like all sort of choked up a little bit, and I'm teary-eyed, and I'm thanking Tim privately while Mom's on the speakerphone in the car. And my mom says, Edward, I think you just look for that shit. And I said,
That's
Mom,
a mom.
I know. And I was
That's
like,
a
Mom,
mom.
whether I was looking for it or not, it's
happened.
there.
It happened.
And so I'm like you, I don't believe in coincidences
I
either.
don't believe in that at all. I believe
So
it's supposed
let's tell
to
the
happen.
audience how we met, and let's do a quick thing where it's like, we want to welcome you to the Liz and Eddie show. I'm Liz.
I'm Eddie.
And together we're Liz Eddie.
We flip bodies.
We do.
We flip personality.
Astral project. She jumped in my body one time. She was like, hell no.
Oh, no.
And we love to talk about metaphysics, spirituality, the paranormal. And we, even though when you were the mom and taking care of your husband and your baby, and you're working full time as a makeup artist and a designer and all the great stuff.
Yes.
And I'm over here teaching dance classes and working as a visual marketing designer, we were still doing exactly this on the side. So we had to cross-pollinate what we knew our soul wanted us to be doing with making a living until we married those two things together. So
that's right.
How did we meet? Was the strip bar over by the tracks? In Las Vegas?
No. Actually, we went through common friends. Your assistant, a really good friend of mine. I was in a healing group in Marina Del Rey, Messengers of Light, and with Fatima Bate many years ago. And Alice, who is also my colleague and also a healer, met your assistant, and then she met you. And that's how we got together. She said to me, I think that you would like him and he would like you. You guys would get along very well.
Wow.
And that's all she said. And then she said, you should make an appointment to see him and talk to him and meet him. And I said, okay, I'll do it.
What was that, like 1876?
No.
Because how long have we known each other for real?
For real. It was a long time ago.
Did we meet when I was in Studio City or on the ranch? The gay ranchero.
Oh, you were on the ranch.
Okay. So, and I moved there in 99.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm really young. He's lying to you. Just kidding. So, but yeah.
Where's the camera again?
That was a long. I know. Where's the camera?
Yeah. We're professionals. We're psychic. Where's the camera?
No, basic. So yeah, that's
Your
where
spirit guy
that's
just left.
That's no, he didn't.
Yes, he did. How'd you know it was a him?
I know.
Okay.
I know. No, but yeah, I met you through that, and ever since then, it's almost like as if we knew each other.
Oh, yeah.
When I first met you, we knew each other. And I felt very comfortable. I felt very open that we could speak about anything and everything. And that's how it's been since we met each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
Me too.
So what do you do today in your daily life? I know you do all of your wonderful professional things as an intuitive person, a sensitive, empathic person. What kinds of tools do you use today to keep your energy high and fast and pure?
Ooh.
And what was your stage name when I met you?
Edward.
Edward.
No, that's your name. No. I'm trying to think what I did. I think the one thing that really helped me a lot was meditation.
Oh.
And is meditation. And creating a quiet space for myself. Actually, I was so busy because I was in the corporate world and still am, that I was so busy that I had to force myself to stop.
And I think when I met you, you were an independent contractor in the corporate world, which means
Yes.
you never get time to
Yes.
yourself.
No, I think I met you at the time when I was working abroad and I was coming back and going back and forth. And yes, that was very, very high stress.
How did you, other than meditation, let's say you're sitting in traffic, you're feeling like you might be late for an appointment and you're freaking out, what tool would you pull on in your spiritual toolbox to keep you centered so that you're not frenetic and causing yourself to be later?
A baseball bat.
Louisville Slugger.
No. You know what? It's interesting. I don't think about it in those terms. It's just like I try to keep myself at peace.
There you go.
It's a decision that I make. When I get up in the morning and I say, okay, this is another day, another opportunity. And whatever happened yesterday, it doesn't really matter. It matters what's happening right now.
Right.
And I make my intention. I see what I'm supposed to do. I make my intention that it's going to be a good day.
And intention's everything.
Yeah.
When did you find out that thoughts were lifeless and soulless, and that your feelings is what animates the thought, so that when you have an intention like that, you get to live it instead of just saying it and not get anything back from non-physical?
What?
Like a lot of people don't know that thoughts are lifeless and soulless, that we create our reality through our feelings, and you tapped into that quick.
Well, you know, the thing is, I felt, and I think that we're going a little fast, but I think that I think you're fast.
It's like a first date.
Yeah, I think that. Don't you think that when you were searching? Okay, let's go back a little bit. When you were searching and you were curious about your spirituality, you started to educate yourself on the different types of, psychic, I don't want to say psychic experience. Like the first thing I did, I looked for a teacher.
I was not that smart.
I wanted to see, yeah, it's so interesting. You are too.
No. Mine was books.
Oh, yeah, books too.
Yeah, I
Definitely
jumped into books. There was nothing on TV back then.
No, there wasn't.
Well, there wasn't
anything.
TV when we were growing up.
There was TV. But, I mean, there were books. I did, yes, self-help books. But it came to a point that you need a teacher or somebody to communicate with you, because up to this point, and tell me if I'm wrong, when you were young, who did you communicate with to teach you about your spirituality?
Nobody.
It was spirit, right?
Oh, yeah, direct. But it was like a psychic gay Tourette syndrome, psychic experiences that I had no control over.
See, and when I was growing up, I remember that I would have dreams, very vivid dreams, and they would speak to me in my dreams.
Yeah.
And I would remember them. And they would tell me about things, tell me about God. They would tell me about spirit. They would tell me about, what's going on with me. And to the point, I think this kept going on and on and on till it's almost like they were raising me,
Yeah.
like that, like almost like that, as if they were with me all along growing up. And then at a certain point, it's like I had to get the training wheels off.
I love that you're saying that because we have our physical family, which is dense, meaning three-dimensional. And then we have the
Well, they're
soul.
physical.
Yeah. And then we have the soul tribe that vibrates to and through it with a higher elevation. So we have to be physical, and which was really hard because our heads were always up in the clouds.
Yeah.
And then following the gut instinct or the intuition. Our next show has to be on spiritual helpers.
Okay,
Because
I think that's great.
what you just led into
Exactly.
was perfect.
Exactly.
My teacher was teachers, plural. First book ever, metaphysical or spiritual, was Shirley MacLaine's Dancing in the Light.
Really?
Well, because I thought it was a book on dancing.
Oh, because you're
Because I
a
am
dancer.
so sophisticated.
So
I am.
he is a dancer. He was a dancer, and he taught dance, and he was very good at it.
And it was all about using the light within.
Yeah.
And how she had her real world, and I related because I was a dancer, and she was talking about that part.
That makes sense.
As a spiritual being.
Yeah.
Then I fell into Abraham, and then we both ended up being mutual admiration society pupils for Sanea Roman.
That's right.
And Sanea Roman, I found out about her in the 80s, and her book, Spiritual Growth, game effing changer.
Amazing.
F means frequency.
Okay, if ever you want to investigate and be curious about your spirituality, the one author that we found together independently was Sanaya Roman. She has written several books on spirituality, from very basic to very, very much. I want to say how you build up stairs, to a certain point where you can create your light body.
Yeah. And you can work with light girls. I just want to point something out. Classy, sassy. Sanaya. Because I thought it was Sanaya. But it's Sanaya.
What is it?
No, you're saying it correctly. I'm still saying it incorrectly.
Oh, I don't know.
So you're Sanaya, Roman, like the Roman Empire, Sanaya, and spiritual growth. And I'm going to say, you get that Sanaya book? So Sanaya.
Sanaya.
Yeah.
Well, either way, she's amazing. I had several of her books, and I can tell you, I bought more than one book to give away to many of my friends.
Same here.
And they totally appreciated it. And to this day, I know that she just came out with an updated version because I was late to the game on Sanaya Roman. Well, she's been out for a long time. I think she was out of San Francisco in that area.
Yes.
She was out of Northern California.
Tiburon.
Yes.
But yes, you're right.
She's amazing. She had been doing it for a while and has already established herself, but she's incredible. And that really helped me establish a baseline for my spirituality and understanding.
Yeah. She's the queen of meditation. She's the queen of getting you back to your center.
Yeah.
She's the queen of activating the light in every atom, cell, and molecule in your body.
Yeah.
She teaches you then to expand the light from yourself and use it as an electromagnetic frequency to pull things to you. So she was my first teacher on how to manifest things.
Oh, yeah.
And not in a sloppy way.
No, she gave you
in a
real
conscious
practical
way.
terms.
Yes.
It was very practical. It's very clear and practical.
Listen, my friend Barbara back in the day, I was so fed up with my boss at the time, she would call me the psychic queer stripper, and she would humiliate me in front of all of the other visual marketing people. She was a horrible, horrible, miserable human being, not just to me, to everybody. But, I ended up being a target. So I fed up, months and months of dealing with this, and I'm getting on the elevator. My friend Barbara walks around the corner to surprise me, and we were going to go to lunch. She was going to take me to lunch, and I was literally on the way down to my car, and I was going to leave and never come back. And we were on the elevator together, and she said, "You need to reread Spiritual Growth this weekend," because it was a Friday. And I was off on the weekend, and I was like, "Why for?" She's a bitch, all of that stuff. And she said, reread Spiritual Growth and send light to this building, to every carpet fiber, send light to the desk, to customer service, to her stretchy pants. You send light everywhere. And I went home, and for 72 hours, I was blissed out of my gourd. And I came back on Monday just so high, fast, and pure, and everything changed like that.
Yeah.
Night and day. I was vibrating victim so purely, and target, and there was nobody else in the whole building that was a better target than me.
Exactly.
But when I raised my vibration, she just went off to other targets. And that was when it flipped the switch with me, that we get to direct our beingness, our soul, our energy, our spirit.
But also it brings up another point, is that we're all energy.
Yeah.
And we all cycle at a certain frequency. Every single person has an energy signature. So we are energy, we are spiritual beings, non-physical beings, experiencing physicality. So if, let's say, in the non-physical world, if we were to see each other, we would recognize each other through our energy signature. And that's how they recognize
100%. You. I'm way thinner in the spiritual world, y'all. I am. All this density is from all the hard work I do.
Exactly. And Edward. So, but that's how you know. So what you did was you cycled out. It's like your energy was no longer meeting hers.
Yep.
Meeting hers. So that's it. It can't hurt you. Because you're no longer cycling in her energy frequency. As soon as you raise your energy field, and as soon as you raise your frequency, that's it. It's done. It's gone. You can step away.
And then it's just like you seeing the UFO. You didn't really believe in UFOs until you saw a UFO. Then you had experience with UFO, and you had witnesses to it.
That's right.
So then your whole experience and perception and perspective changed. It was the exact same thing with this.
Yeah.
I was just like, I'll never do that behavior again on purpose.
Yeah.
And it was night and day. And wrapping up, I want to ask you about the Dead Files.
The Dead File. Oh, I love that show.
So our two favorite people on the show are Amy Allen, and she is psychic medium, physical psychic medium.
Yeah,
okay,
she's a physical medium.
You can't.
Clairvoyant.
Nobody can touch her.
She's amazing.
Crazy off the hook. And then there's Steve DeShavi.
He's also good.
Yeah, ex-Marine.
They're a perfect pair.
Yeah.
I love them.
So Steve's the ex-Marine and homicide detective of 30 years in New York. Yeah. And then you pair physical mediumship with Steve DeShavi in his big old ring from the Marines.
I love that.
Call that Marines.
Actually, I like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
And they go into homes where people are having all kinds of psychic experiences, poltergeist.
But very challenging, very difficult. I have to say, very challenging and difficult. I mean, I honestly, bless her, because it's a very difficult thing that she's doing. And she's doing a big service.
A big service. And I love the before and the after.
Oh, yeah.
Because you see the family before, they look rode hard, hung up wet, stressed out. They can't even have a sentence beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
Because they're fried. They're so exhausted from the non-physical combative energy.
Yeah.
And at the end of the show, she does police sketches of the stuff she sees. And then whenever the homeowners see it, they're like, oh, my God, I'm not crazy. And Steve goes, yeah.
But you know what? They're perfect together.
They are absolutely
But what they
perfect.
do is really help people.
Yeah. And so what's your takeaway from the Dead Files? For me, it was there's way more than just a poltergeist. There's way more than just a dead woman that's in the house. There's also the land itself. There's elementals that come in. Sometimes there's extraterrestrials that come in and take people out at night.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And when she says it, you see half of the family going.
Exactly. Oh,
Then
you saw that.
see the other, the son and the father going, well, I mean, it's been going on since I was 14.
Exactly.
And then you see, then that's another conversation for another day. But it's non-physical influences.
Yes.
And so it could be anything haunting the land. It could be a massacre. It could be a mining collapse underneath the property 50 feet away.
It could be, Indian.
An airplane
sacred
crash.
Indian land, cemetery, it could be the land has always been, cursed for years. And even the Indians wouldn't live on it.
I know.
What I mean?
Well, yeah, they were so smart because of the
energy.
The rakes.
Yeah.
There's this
scary
anything from a Sasquatch, Bigfoot, rakes, the Slender Man, Wendigo. Ooh, child.
Oh, yeah.
We have to do a whole show just on mythology of things like that.
That'd be very cool. Yeah.
Child, do you believe in Bigfoot?
I do. Well, I think that, what do they call them? A cryptid?
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that there are beings that we're not really aware of, that we don't know a lot about. There's so much evidence that and so many people have seen it. So there must be some truth about it.
Oh,
so those are facts.
Yeah.
So I believe it. I do believe it.
So what would happen if you finally got to see new spirit guides of yours and you found out it was a cryptid or a Bigfoot?
Well, sometimes spiritual guides are not humanoid.
Oh yeah, they're not.
They're not. They have a different presence, that you may not, but they're your spirit guides. And that's okay.
What do you think the best takeaway from the show is for us and then also for the audience? Based on everything we've talked about with intuition, coming into your intuitive power, the kinds of experiences we've had, the kind of experiences you've had at home as well.
I think is communication.
Oh, that's good.
And how to communicate. It's not limited to just speaking. And I think that is the biggest thing that, if anything, that we can take away from this. It's just not limited to speaking. It also it's inclusive, all inclusive. We always talk about inclusivity. You and I, when we get together, we talk about inclusivity, that everything is all one. Everything is one whole thing, communicating with each other. And that's really the important thing. So it's about knowing that communication comes to you in a non-physical way, in a feeling sense.
Yes.
Using all your senses, not only speaking, but hearing. And if you feel something coming on, what is that? What is that? Your intuition? You can call that intuition. But it's communication with all that is. You can say that.
Yep.
Or whatever you believe in, God, Goddess, all that is, or, the man in the moon.
And you have to be curious enough to want to receive more and then have a pure enough desire to be able to hear it when you receive it and then hold the space for it once you do receive it.
Yeah.
So you don't run out of the room screaming.
Well, that has happened.
Oh, yeah.
When we were growing up, I think that if I had someone who could have helped me with what I had experienced and I could speak to someone about it, then it would have been a lot easier for me.
Yeah.
It was very difficult, I think, at certain points, because I remember telling Malcolm that I didn't speak for a long time because of that, And so, you don't want to be judged.
No,
when you're a young child,
we had
you
so
don't
many
want to be
bricks
judged.
stacked against us on that judgment pile. And we were a glass shelf just throwing
But
more
we had
bricks
that
on
hammer and we broke it away.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, we did. But see, again, as you grow up and you become stronger and you have more understanding, then you can make that path for yourself.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I think a lot about it. I think it ties up the beginning and middle and end. It's all about everybody's got intuition, whether you believe it or not.
Yes.
And it's how to harness it, use it to your advantage and the wellness of everybody on planet Earth. And then you have to learn to communicate it via the heart chakra, the gut instinct, the imagination. I'm a firm believer that the imagination and intuition are twin flame souls. You can't be a good psychic and have a shitty imagination. You have to have a really developed imagination And you have to have, and then that opens the doorway to the intuition. And that's a good, happy marriage if you play with it right. So don't be afraid of your intuition. Don't be afraid of hearing voices. Don't be afraid of a ghost walking through. Literally get back into your center. Reach out, be curious, communicate it from the heart and the gut instinct.
Yes.
And I think the next show really should be on spiritual helpers.
I think that you're absolutely correct. I think that
Will you say that again?
I think you're absolutely correct, Edward.
One more time for the audience.
I think he's absolutely correct.
I think she's correct.
And he's correct. And we're going to do that next time. Spiritual helpers, y'all.
That's right. You've been watching Liz and Eddie. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Liz.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. I have such flop boob sweat.